understand something. Plain and simple. To me, Abigail was a delicious poison. An intoxicating, overwhelming poison. Yowie wowie! That felt good! Yowie wowie. Let me in.
I gotta be honest. I dig the intro every time I get wrapped up into it for whatever reason. Um, I gotta pat myself on the back. Yeah,
You did good.
I did okay on that one. I did okay on that one. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Abby's Window, and of course, I am joined as always by your Abby, my Abby, the world's Abby, Jodie Gilly. Jodie, how are you?
I've been better.
Jodie's in some pain.
Jodie pulled a back muscle, which
Yeah.
was made worse yesterday when I took the kids to the trampoline park and decided it would be fun to get on it with them.
Nah.
Yeah.
Not good. Not good. So if you see Jodie kind of having to change, her seating there, listen, she's in a lot of pain. We're gonna try to get through this hour as best we can. So let me welcome in some folks real quick and then we'll get started. The Will Jacks Effect, Chad Schrader, James Grant, Seven Fiend, Jason Peace, Big Dan, Jonell Jackson, B Tazzy. By the way, after Abby's, go to B Tazzy's channel, check out the Raw Hype Party. If you have not subscribed to Tazzy's channel, please do us a favor and do so. Thank you, and yeah, please. Erase your mind. Let's see here. Deanna, Rare Kitty, Balloonicorn. Interesting.
That's quite a
Wow.
name.
Howdy. Thank you for joining. Deanna, what's up, Deanna? So, let's see here. Yes, Chad, I've heard the news about some of the trades going on today. Jodie's current city, Indianapolis, picks up Matt Ryan. I want to see who Jodie's Panthers go after, though. Do they stand pat with who they have, or do they feel like they need to make some splash moves? What would you like to see as a Panthers fan, Jodie?
I don't know. Knowing the Panthers' history, I would say they're going to stick with what they have. But the rumor mill is turning out that we're going after Baker Mayfield. So,
how would you feel about that?
I mean, Panthers have some rebuilding to do, and they need a good, solid start to rebuild that core.
Yeah.
So,
because I can tell you right now, the division, like the NFC South, with Brady coming back, the Saints locking up Jameis Winston again, and I feel like he's going to do better there. Depending on what Carolina and Atlanta do at quarterback, I mean, that's a tough division. That can be a very tough division.
You know that Chris is unhappy with the Raiders acquirement.
Yeah, they acquired Devontae Adams, basically. Well, and listen, they were already pretty strong. Now they got Devontae Adams. They add Chandler Jones to the defense of the Raiders. Yes, folks. If I did not do a wrestling podcast, I would do NFL because yes, I know my stuff. But the AFC West and the AFC North is going to be crazy.
James just said NFC's doomed.
I mean, AFC right now is just is crazy. What's up, Jesse Callen? I mean, it's crazy. You got the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
The Denver Broncos just got Russell Wilson, and they're adding people to the defense. You got the Chargers. That's a sleeper team. That's my sleeper team next year. The Chargers doing big time stuff. The Raiders we already talked about. And then you go to the AFC North. You got the Browns who just got Deshaun Watson and paid him a boatload of money. That's
And
mostly guaranteed. You've got the defending AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, it is remarkable what the AFC is, and then you got the Ravens too. So I'm excited for football season.
mm-hmm.
I'm really excited. I don't know if people can tell, but I'm excited about it. Speaking of dates and getting closer to the NFL season, though, I know Jody has something else. While we're in Abby's window, Jody has something else that she likes to talk about on Abby's window. And Jody, what do you have for us this week?
Caleb's going back on tour. He's been taking a little vacay. Looks like April 6th and April 7th. He's going to be in Phoenix, Arizona. He has added some dates to thank you. Some solo Southern rock shows, as he calls it. I will be at the one in Greenville, Tennessee, which coincidentally is also his birthday. So that's going to be fun. And then I'll be at the Bat Experience show June 11th in Ohio with a friend, and then I will be at the Silverados show on June 18th in Black Mountain, North Carolina. So, I get to see him 3 times. The one on June 11th is actually a meet and greet. I have meet and greet tickets as well. So that's
Marietta, Ohio.
So, yes. So, if you're anywhere near any of those cities and you have not seen Caleb Johnson live, you are missing out. Don't wait until Trans-Siberian Orchestra goes on tour again in December. Go see him before that because he's just awesome live. You won't regret it.
There you go. A little bit of Caleb corner this week. So let's chat about a couple of things. I wanna start with the negative. Not really. It's kind of a negative. But I want to start with the negative. So in case you haven't heard, and I'm being facetious, WrestleMania is next weekend. Next weekend. Let that sink in for a moment. Which also marks, once we get to next weekend, it will be the 1-year anniversary of the last time we saw Windham wrestle. 1 year.
That's just sad.
It is, right?
It's just sad.
It will have been 1 year, and then the following night, it's I don't mean this upcoming weekend. I mean
Next weekend.
Yeah, I mean next weekend. But I bring that up because it's the 1 year anniversary. One, it seems a heck of a lot longer than a year, but I just want to get your thoughts on that unfortunate anniversary coming up with us not seeing him in a wrestling ring since then.
I mean, it hurts as a fan, not being able to see him on TV and wrestle, which is what he's so good at. But after spending some time with him, I think he's got some really interesting things on the horizon and that I know he's really excited about. So you kind of can't be sad because he's going to do something. He has been doing great things with it. We just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But I do hope that he goes back to wrestling at some point, even if it's just in a smaller capacity. I would love to see him back in the ring.
Yeah. I mean, even if it was on a part-time basis,
Mm-hmm.
something more, because we want to see him. We want to see him. Let's see here. James Grant saying, Vince, you evil man, how can you throw out one of the best dudes? Devin the Fiend says, just a question about the last week meeting. Any thought about Windham still signing as Bray Wyatt? Interesting fact.
Yeah, I mean, I did wonder whether he was going to sign as Windham or as Bray Wyatt, but I thought advertising it as Windham meant he was probably going to sign them as Windham, and then he was signing stuff Bray Wyatt, and I know he signed very few things as the Fiend if people asked him to specifically, but I don't know. I mean, you would. I don't know. I mean, obviously he had. There's got to be some legal checks and balances there as far as, he's not appearing as Bray Wyatt, but can still sign as Bray Wyatt because that's who his character was. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't know. But it definitely, yeah, I thought it was interesting that he was signing things as Bray Wyatt. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I found it interesting. I really did find it interesting.
It's a puzzler, that's for sure. Like,
Yeah.
if he doesn't own the rights to the name, and WWE owns the rights to the name, do they give him permission to sign the name? Like, and that's not just specific to him. I mean, other people do that as well. And it does make you scratch your head and go, I wonder what kind of, legal conversations they had about that. It's got to, I would say it happens frequently enough that it's probably in their contract.
Yeah.
And it's a standard part of their contract that, if they're out and not employed by WWE anymore, that they can still use their likeness, I guess.
Yeah. Interesting points and a good question for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously that's going to bring up some other questions. Big Dan actually said something here, and I want to bring attention to it and then ask this, because the question's always going to come up until it doesn't happen or until he shows up somewhere else. But in responding to what James Grant said, Big Dan said Cody's return could be a harbinger for a potential Wyndham return to WWE. Drew McIntyre and Zelina both returned after being released, and in the latter's case, she went nowhere afterwards. Again, do you think it's a possibility that he returns?
Not for a while. I think that he's focused on other things at the moment. And I think that's going to continue to be his point of focus. And yeah, I think that's going to continue to be a point of focus for him for a little while. So I don't think we see him back in a wrestling ring for a while, but I do think that we will see him in different.
There you go.
Maybe it'll be right here.
Maybe you never know.
You never know.
Deanna saying, "Hey Jodie, check out the Major Players podcast on YouTube. You made an appearance in the video this week."
Okay.
You know whose podcast it is, right?
No.
Matt Cardona and Brian Myers.
How do I make an appearance in their video?
I don't know. Maybe they were filming or doing something. I don't know. Tell us where she was in the video, Deanna. Like, tell us about the appearance because
What was I doing?
I'm sure they probably did it like while the meet and greet was going on with Jeff and Matt. Maybe that would be my guess, unless they were filming stuff while people were in line and did it that way. I hope I'm thinking about the right podcast. Nonetheless, you're famous. So
I'm not, but okay.
oh, it says during the entrances from the match, you were standing on the rail.
Oh, yes, I was, because I got pictures of it.
Yeah.
In my Caleb Johnson shirt.
There you go. See,
if that converts another person, if that makes one person go, who's Caleb Johnson? I'm gonna go look him up, and he gains a fan. Mission accomplished.
There you go. There you go. Seven Fiend saying, "OMG would be awesome just to say hello to my 9-year-old nephew here in Italy, from his number one hero."
I would count on it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Strong words. Strong words. Okay, so we answered that question. Then let's go to the next night, because obviously that was the last time we saw him. Would be the next night. Deanna saying I was cracking up. I'm like, hey, it's Jodie.
That's funny.
So the next night was the last time we saw him on TV. Obviously now, if you really think about his words, and we've talked about this, and there's been videos and breakdowns and theories and all that stuff about the words, and did he know his fate before he went out there and did that kind of thing. But just, I guess, being who you are, and and knowing him the way that you do, and seeing him on TV, and then all of a sudden, a year's passed and we haven't. Just talk about the void that's been there with that, and kind of holding on to hope that maybe he'll show up one day soon.
Yes, I was talking about Windham coming on here too. I mean, it's been a huge void because there's nobody like him, and I do think that Windham is a very smart guy, and I definitely think he's very intuitive, and he's able to read people really well, and I definitely think he may have felt the writing on the wall a little bit, because I don't think this was a snap decision. I think this was a slow spiral that started in another country with a horrible match that nobody expected that outcome. And yeah, so we're not going to talk about that, but I think he may have had an inkling that the writing was on the wall, and it's been a huge void. Like, I don't remember the last time I watched Raw or SmackDown. Like, it's been months, just because I know what's happening without watching it. It just, Bray had this way of keeping things unpredictable and keeping you on your toes, and it's just there's not as much of a draw for me anymore. And I watched, obviously, I still watch the pay-per-views and stuff like that, but you pretty much know what the matches are going to be a month ahead of time. So what's the point? For me, it's like, what's the point of watching Raw or SmackDown anymore? There's just no reason to anymore. I watch the pay-per-views because it's fun and we do watch-alongs, and I enjoy spending time with you guys and hanging out with you guys more than I do actually watching the show. So that was the beginning of the end, I think. So yeah, for me, like, wrestling has kind of lost its luster.
That's understandable.
I'm on there.
That's understandable. Hello, Diana. That's understandable. I know. I think a lot of people, got turned off by that.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm being honest, I would venture to say that you a lot of people's love kind of either turned them off of wrestling completely
Mm-hmm.
or turned them away from WWE.
Yeah, I would say it's much more of you kind of lose your passion for it. Like, it's more of a, oh yeah, Raw's on tonight, I'll tune in and watch bits and pieces of it, or I'll have it on while I'm doing something else. It's like, if I remember that it's on, yeah, I might watch it. But whereas before, it was a can't miss. You had that passion. You were just on pins and needles waiting for him to show up, and wanted to see what he did. And there's nobody else like that anymore. I mean, there's some, don't get me wrong, there's some very talented athletes still there. And that's why I haven't given up on it completely, because there are moments that you're like, oh, that was cool. I liked that. You know what I mean? Like, I still enjoy the pay-per-views, but for me, it's just that spark, that love it's just not there anymore.
And I would ask people in the chat, I mean, do you feel that same way? I would venture to say that a lot of people do that are in the chat. Let me go to some of the comments here real quick. Big Dan saying, what if the Wyndham return was tied to Cody's? The Rotunda Mulligan families have been close for a long time. Maybe Cody comes back as a Ric Flair type and Wyndham comes back as his muscle. Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be
I definitely think he will come back to wrestling at some point. I don't think it's going to be for a while.
yeah, because he's got some other irons in the fire.
He does. He has a few.
Yeah. Erase Your Mind saying atrocious decision making on WWE's part with the match planning and the opponents the Fiend lost to. Almost all the matches on the WrestleMania card are predictable for this year. I would agree with that. Seven Fiend saying unmissable to missable. Big Dan saying I was shattered when Wyndham was released, but I love Seth, Roman, Becky, and this new Brock. So I still watch. Plus WWE has been part of my life since I was 15. But I feel you, Jody. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. I mean, a lot of people, they may not get it, and that's fine. You don't have to. I know there are some people that don't like certain things, but some people came to wrestling specifically for Bray Wyatt, Windham Rotunda.
Right. I mean, you can compare it to football if you want to. I'm sure there's a lot of Patriots fans that, felt that same sort of loss when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay. You know what I mean? Like, the Patriots aren't the same without him, and when Brett Favre left Green Bay, it just wasn't the same. They're still a great team. They're still talented. You'll still watch them for the most part, but it's not the same without Brett Favre. The Panthers aren't the same without Cam Newton. You know what I mean? Like, it just, and you have to give Wyndham the credit that he deserves. When you think about going through a pandemic and not being able to go anywhere, and them not being able to have fans in the arenas and having fans be there, he carried WWE through that pandemic because his kind of character just lended itself to that theatrical kind of match. And without him, I don't think that they would have made it through the pandemic, because he was that key, that integral piece of that puzzle that they just would have fell flat on their face without him. Like when I think about what WWE did during the pandemic when they couldn't have fans in the building, you think about Bray Wyatt, because you think about all those cinematic matches. He completely carried them through that entire pandemic, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that.
Yeah. Deanna agreeing with you, saying Wyndham carried that company during the pandemic. He made it must watch. I just think about the lead up to him and Cena and that SmackDown, that moment where Cena is out there and he pops up behind him. I mean, it was very horror movie-esque.
Yeah.
It was great. I mean, it was fantastic.
And, in a way, this is going to sound really ass backwards, but you kind of have to be thankful for a situation like that occurring that allowed him to bring those theatrical pieces into his character, because you saw a whole different side to Bray Wyatt, to the Fiend, all those theatrical matches that if they weren't going through a pandemic, you probably wouldn't have seen. Mm-hmm. So it's hard, obviously going through that was horrible, but there are good things that came out of it as well.
I mean, you got the Firefly Funhouse match. You got the Swamp fight.
Still two of my favorite matches of all time.
Yeah, I mean, that's just that. I mean, then you get into the stuff that he was doing with Randy, and and all the different things backstage that they could do then.
And and I'm sure he was obviously very disappointed, because we knew as fans that there was so much more he would have done. If they would have kept that feud going, like, you can only imagine the things that he would have done with that. And he's got a story to tell, I'm sure.
Yep. Well, at this point, he knows he has an open invitation.
He does.
At this point, he knows.
He knows.
He knows. Anytime he's willing to share and wants to come on here, anytime. Erase your mind.
I did ask him that. I was like, when are you coming on my show?
Yeah. Erase your mind, saying from seeing Windham with such diversity week after week, to a man that says the same quote lines week after week talking about Roman. James Grant saying during the pandemic they did so many good Windham moments, even Bliss with Wyatt made it more enjoyable. Even the flame match of Randy versus Fiend was good. It fit so well.
Who else would literally set themselves on fire? Not many. And
not many.
Like this dude sacrificed his body for years, and you just
piss it all away.
And yeah, and not to say that there's anything wrong with someone like Roman. Everybody has a style, and I think that's the problem with WWE right now. They're catering to one style. We obviously, we know the moves are real, but it's some of the talent. Yes, they're very talented, but they also tend to follow the script more. Whereas, Windham was not one of those people. He wanted to do what he wanted to do. And I think that's another thing that WWE has lost over the past couple of years, is they've lost that diversity. They've got one kind of cookie cutter person. And not to say that they're not great, heart-shaped chocolate chip cookies are great, but sometimes you want a star-shaped chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah.
And you've got people like Becky and Seth and Roman and Bianca. They're all the same. You know what I mean? They're great, but they're all the same style of character. And Wyndham really brought something that he broke the mold. He brought something that was different. And, you gravitated to people like that because that was more your style. You tend to gravitate to people that go off the cuff and do things a little bit quirky because I don't know, you tend to relate to them a little better because they're just funny people. They're funny, goofy people that enjoy entertaining people. And, those kinds of characters like Undertaker, like Bray, like, those really larger than life characters they're just fun to watch.
Yeah.
And you get tired of heart-shaped chocolate chip cookies after a while.
You know what? I'm mad now because now I'm hungry.
Now you want chocolate chip cookies.
Now I want chocolate chip cookies. I'm sitting here like, man, chocolate chip cookies sound real good. I mean, yeah, that would be great. Let's see, Jesse Callan saying Wyndham brought very necessary and beautiful diversity.
Yeah, and that's definitely what WWE has been missing. And now that Big E's, injured and, you don't have that kind of larger than life, over the top character. And, we haven't seen Kofi or your friend for a while. So, the New Day was another one of that for me. Those larger than life characters. And yeah, WWE is really missing some diversity. And because of that, you've lost a lot of fans have just lost that passion.
I'm gonna ask you a question here and I'm not even gonna try to say the whole thing. I'm just gonna call you DD. That's all I'm gonna call you. That's it, because I don't want to butcher your name. I'm gonna ask though, if he were to return to WWE, would you want to see that? Because DD says the Fiend is the perfect opponent for Roman, but
it depends. It depends on what the outcome would be. If he came back and they said, okay, we're going to let you have a feud with Roman Reigns. If you cater to Roman Reigns in that situation, it would suck. No offense to Roman Reigns. He's a phenomenal athlete and an amazing man. But if you were going to do that feud, you have to let Bray do it his own way. Exactly the way he wants to do it.
Yeah.
If you do it that way, it'd be great.
Because I was going to ask you this before you say that next part. Does it have to end with the Fiend winning?
No.
Okay.
Because I don't think it was ever about winning. It was about sending that message. And yes, I think there are ways that Wyndham could tell that story and lose to Roman.
Yeah. Like, I think it would be
to psychologically torture him for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, maybe to the point that he loses to somebody else. Because it's all about those mind games.
Yeah. And that would be absolutely brilliant. I mean, just really.
You've got to let Bray do it the way he wants to.
Yeah. It will be nice. And the other thing is, hopefully, Roman would do the same thing that Cena did and just say, you know what, I trust you. Let's play this thing out the way you see it, because I trust you. Big Dan,
like, be open to hearing about the way he wants to do it.
Right.
Like, I like that idea that, psychologically breaking him down for weeks and weeks and weeks until he loses the belt to somebody else. And then take credit for it. then Roman can come back and blame him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I lost because of you.
How I'm just thinking. I'm not saying that it would. I'm not saying that it would happen, but if he were just if he were to show up at WrestleMania, good Lord, that would be tremendous.
He is going to be in the same city.
He is going to be in the same city. So, Jesse saying we would love and enjoy the storytelling, but listening to the imbeciles moan about it and say he's buried and his so-called fans turn on him would be annoying, as it always is.
Yeah, you kind of learn to tune it out.
Ooh, what if what if it's the Fiend versus Roman? The Fiend wins and catches the title on fire.
See, a lot of people say that was the biggest problem with that Goldberg match. If Goldberg was so set on winning, you could have formatted that a different way. Like, I don't like the Fiend just laying the belt down and walking off because he doesn't care about the belt. You know what I mean? Or I don't know. I just think that there could have been different ways to do that without. I think you could have done that match with Goldberg winning without pissing off people as much as you did.
Right.
So yeah, that would be an interesting thing too. Like, there's so many things that he could have done and still could do, but I think he's gonna be focused on other things for a while.
See, I would have had Goldberg win by DQ.
Yeah.
Or something to that effect, where
not pinning him.
Right, like it's not making either person look weak. Like, let's say that he had a hold on Goldberg over in the corner and he wouldn't let go, or they both get counted. I mean, people will still gripe about getting counted out or a DQ finish, but at least you don't get that kind of backlash that
And as much as everybody hated that Hell in a Cell match, I loved it for that reason.
I did too.
It just ended without anybody technically losing or being pinned. And I still say that if you listen, the first time I saw that match, we were doing our watch along and I couldn't hear the commentary. And initially I was like, well, that sucks. I didn't like that. But then I went back and I watched it with the commentary. So much better. It completely changed everything because of their commentary.
Right. And again, what people I don't think they really cared for at that point. But now, if you look back on it, I mean, you could see it then though, but if you look back on it, that created two separate pathways. That match did. It turned Seth Rollins, laid the foundation for what he is today. He had to be broken down because he threw everything at this entity and he snapped. And then once he snapped, then the title comes off of him, and then that's even more reason to snap. But
it's all about long-term storytelling.
That's
and
it.
Now WWE doesn't have that anymore. Like, literally, I love Roman. I'm growing to love Brock. But we saw this same match, 4 years ago? Exactly the same match. It literally popped up in my memories recently that they literally just had this match 4 years ago.
And with the roles reversed this time.
Yeah.
James Grant saying, let's say Roman beats Brock, and let's say we are at SummerSlam 2022. Roman says, I beat all there is. There's no one left. We hear Windham say, you never beat me. Fiend is behind Roman and hits Sister Abigail. Good grief. Book that.
I would love it. I don't see it happening for a while.
for a while. Oh yeah, that you got me thinking about that. Deanna saying, "What if the Fiend just handed back the title? Like, I don't need your control." I love that.
See, that's what I wanted him to do with Goldberg. I wanted him to just hand them the title and walk away. Like, I don't need this belt. Don't define me.
Ooh. Big Dan. What if Wyndham came back as a character similar to Corporate Kane, and slowly he finds relics of his past, and he over time remembers who he was, and all hell breaks loose.
I think we really miss him being in a ring.
Yeah. Erase Your Mind saying they wanted to give Goldberg the title to pass it to Roman originally at WrestleMania 36. Yeah. Um, yeah. I still say though, we got the Firefly Funhouse match, which was brilliant.
It was
You
brilliant.
know, so that was brilliant. I mean, I hated the way that they did him with Mr. Berg. I'm not gonna say the whole thing. I'll just say Mr. Berg. I hated that,
Yeah.
but you know,
And I'm sure
um,
you do.
oh yeah, for sure. And you know what? I really want to ask that question. I want to ask that question so bad. Like, te- you might have to do like two parts of a podcast to get through everything, because that's probably an hour in and of itself. How do you really feel about that match? What are your real thoughts about that match? I could
Oh,
imagine.
I yeah. Yeah. it's it's gonna be an experience, that's for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Seven Fiend. Well, let me go. Alicia P saying Randy still hears voices in his head. That could be another way to bring it back. Seven Fiend saying, Jodie, please translate this for a while. Months, years, days, please.
I would say double digit months.
Double digit months. Okay. Okay. If there had been crowds after Goldberg beat Fiend, um, he would have been a bigger heel than Roman was that night after WrestleMania 33. They would have had no choice but to turn him. Months. You say double digit months.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking at least another year.
Another year. Okay. Let me ask you this. In another year, and since we've been talking about them, in another year, does he go back to WWE? Do you think that's enough time?
No.
So you think he does? You think he goes elsewhere
Mm-hmm.
first? Where do you think that elsewhere is?
I don't know. Like, I'd like, like we said before, I'd love to see him in Impact. It just depends what he wants to do with it. I think Impact, like I said, would give him the biggest stage, but he'd also be a big fish in a little pond. Not to call Impact little. I'm just saying his caliber of person, he would be the biggest star they have.
It would be, if you're an old school TNA Impact fan, it would be akin to bringing in the names that they eventually brought in from all the WWE releases back in the day. Like when they had Hogan, when they had Hall and Nash, when they had names like that. Um, I think him going there, like there's some things, and I'm not just saying this because we do an Impact watch along, but there are things that they're doing now to position themselves to be more to get more eyes, to attract more eyes.
Yeah.
And I think that's a part of maybe that may be a part of why he didn't sign there, because listen, let's be honest. Not a lot of people watch Impact. They should, but they haven't fully come around just yet.
But you have to think about the kind of person that Bray is
Right.
as a person.
Right.
He is the kind of person that wants to give that spotlight to somebody that is not well known, like us. And so, you know, he appreciates people trying to work themselves up. And that's another reason why I think he would enjoy going to Impact, is because he will help them get a bigger platform.
Yeah. I think if he goes there, yes, that platform, it explodes. Like I think it explodes pretty rapidly, honestly. If he goes there. James Grant saying I can see him going to New Japan or Control Your Narrative. Don't think he'll even try to go to AEW. I think Control Your Narrative is interesting, but I would love to see him in New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see him in New Japan, especially since they're doing, especially if with what they're doing now and having the show here in the States on our TV. I would love to see that. Deanna saying Impact is growing slowly. They're doing a lot of things that are good. And Tazzy even saying it, if you haven't been watching Impact, you're missing out. I would encourage anyone to, on a Thursday night, come join us, and for $1, give it a month. Give it a month. For $1, you subscribe to their YouTube channel and you get their weekly show. Or for $5, which this is what I do, you get all of their like little mini, I don't want to call them mini, but like network exclusives. And
They
their
also have
paper
a channel on Pluto TV.
They do. They have a channel on Pluto. Obviously you can watch it. Yeah, it's free. Jody found that out today, or recently, about Pluto. But or if you have Access TV, check them out on Access TV. But give it a chance, because the stuff that they're doing, the companies that they're working with, the wrestlers that they have there right now, their current roster is tremendous. And I will say this, and I will debate anyone on this, from top to bottom. Their knockouts division is the best women's division in wrestling, bar none.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
It's absolutely fantastic. From top to bottom, I don't think there's a more talented roster of women wrestling in professional wrestling than on Impact's roster.
Just so you know, we're not advertising for Impact. We don't have a business partnership with them or anything. So it's
no, but I mean,
it'd be nice.
It would be very nice. And I think the wrestlers, talking to a couple of the wrestlers that we have, they know of us, because there's not a lot of places that hype up Impact like we do on this channel. So just shameless plug, come check us out on a Thursday, subscribe to their channel for a month, give them a chance. Because I don't think you'll regret it. Mm-mm. I really don't think you'll regret it. If you love professional wrestling, I think you'll love Impact and what they're doing. James Grant saying, if you ain't watching Impact, you need to. Yeah, come check it out. Come check it out. The matches have been really good, and the storylines have been really good. So I think that's interesting, because I could immediately, if he were to, let's say he goes to Impact tomorrow, the first person I want him up against is Vincent.
Oh God, yeah.
That's the first
Shut up
person.
and take my money. Literally.
That's the first person I
Yes.
want him up against is Vincent. That feud, that storyline would be freaking
Amazing.
tremendous.
Yeah.
Freaking tremendous. I mean, I don't know.
It'd be amazing.
Big Dan saying, Jeff, to quote Vincent Vega in Pulp Fiction. Love that movie, by the way. That's a bold statement, but I might check out Impact sometime because I do get Access TV. Big Dan, I know it's a bold statement. But here's the thing. Trust me. I don't think I lead people astray when it comes to wrestling and recommending things. I would tell you, Big Dan, if you just go look up some of this stuff on YouTube, especially like recent stuff. Look up some of this stuff on YouTube. Look up Deonna Purrazzo and Mickey James, or Deonna Purrazzo and Jordan Grace. Look up some of the recent stuff, and I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. Deanna saying, Dan, you won't be sorry. The stories are awesome. Alicia P saying PCO. PCO, by the way, if you're an old school wrestling fan, was in the Quebecers. And if you don't know who the Quebecers were, the Quebecers wrestled on WrestleMania 10.
Huh. Okay.
That's how long he's been around. Joe just popped into the chat. Deanna saying Vincent needs to be in the Cult of Windham. Joe saying, hey guys, gotta say Jeff made my day again. Autograph from Rosemary and Decade t-shirt. Yeah, Joe got that in the mail today. I'm glad that that he was able to get that stuff. It was I'm glad to be able to send that. Glad to be able to send it. So Jody's smiling over there.
I'm happy for him.
I know. He deserves it. He deserves it. Let's see here. Race Your Mind saying Wyndham would never be a member of House of Black. I would see Wyndham as an even scarier presence. Listen, I'll go ahead and tell you this too, and Jody, we can kind of wrap up with this. Do you think Impact will let him go as dark as he wants to go?
Yes. I think they would let him do whatever the hell he wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
I think that's one of the reasons why he may or may not end up on here at some point, because we're about the only people out there that would let him say what he wants to say, how he wants to say it, and just turn the mic over to him and say, floor's yours. What do you want to say?
Yeah.
And I think he appreciates that. And that's that's what I think he's looking for that first interview.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Just saying. Big Dan, I'm gonna get you. We're gonna get you on some. We're gonna get you on some Impact one week.
Come on.
I saw a little head poking out of there. There you go. Howdy. Howdy. How are you today?
Good.
Good. I'm gonna convert Big Dan to an Impact fan.
You can do it.
It's my mission now to convert him to an Impact fan. Alicia P saying that he is a leader, not a follower. Let's see. They would allow it, says James Grant. Heck, they once had Abyss as a scary dude in TNA. Jesse with why the Flameo would anyone want to limit Bray if they had opportunity to interview him?
I'm not saying they would limit him, but you have to think if he picks somewhere like Sam Roberts, Chris Jericho, Stone Cold, one of those really big places for his first interview. They're going not necessarily limit him, but steer him in a certain direction. Like, well, we don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about this. Or, you know, they may try to script him a little bit. And we are not that kind of people. He knows that, like I said, if he picked us for his first interview, he could come on and say whatever he wants to. So that story that he has to tell, he can tell it exactly the way that he wants to.
And no filter.
No filter. Unfiltered. Yep.
I like Bray Wyatt.
We all do.
And, you know, like I said, I think that he appreciates the people who work hard and, you know, the people that love him for who he is. And I think that's another reason why, you know, he chose to respond to us first when on Twitter after he got released.
Yeah. Masses were out, as we always are. Freedom, which he wants and needs. Yes, absolutely.
And I think we're the only channel that would offer him that.
Yeah. Jesse saying, side note, I'm very satisfied. I just got Jeff to say Flamio on here. Well, you just got Jeff to say Flamio 3 times now because I've said Flamio 4 times now.
Careful, you might throw into labor.
Right? And then she'd be like, what, the Flamio? 5. 5. Wes Heron, what's up? All right. We're at 6:59. Any final thoughts, Jodie, before we head out of here?
Keep your eyes on the window.
Yes. Keep them on the window. Keep them on the window.
I'm just saying.
Like we said earlier, if you have not done so, go subscribe to Tazzy and check out the Raw Hype Party. He's about to go on right now as soon as we wrap up. So go ahead. Wouldn't be the first time, DM. I'll leave it at that. But go check him out. If you have not done so, please, please, please subscribe to our channel and throw a like on this video. That helps us get seen. And, you know, we try to bring you guys some great content. So thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we will see you next time. Take care.